Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to see you today. My name is Dustin Cormier. This is How to Rock Astrology, and we're going to be moving through a reading of Light on Relationships, the Synastry of Indian Astrology by Hart Fouw and Robert Svoboda. It's a real pleasure to be talking about this subject, really. It's a subject I'm very intrigued by and interested by. Although I'm learning that there's so many different ways to interpret it and to deal with the techniques. This book in particular, my intention with this series, I'm not actually going to get into astrological techniques. There is a groundbreaking fundamental philosophy shared in the intro of this book, and this is what I'm looking to share with everybody here on my YouTube channel. It's because of the way he breaks down the terminology that these two gentlemen use to understand relationships, and the psychology of self-realization through relationships is, I think, very, very important. Now, I've decided to do a little introduction today talking about what exactly is the guts that these gentlemen portray in this introduction. So, the book is made by Hart Fouw, Robert Svoboda. Robert Svoboda in particular is a treasured artist and revered author of books that I love. One in particular is called Kundalini. Kundalini 2, the Agori book, is a very powerful book about Kundalini, of course, in particular. And he's a great writer. He was one of the first people to come from America, learn Sanskrit, and to be educated and officially graduate an Indian college for Ayurveda. And then he went on to learn a lot about Jyotish, it's Indian astrology, and as well as relationship astrology. So this is the nature of what this book's all about. And like I said, we're getting into the guts of this intro philosophy here. So I'm going to share a little bit about what I mean by this intro philosophy right now, if you are interested in checking it out with me. Number one, the standalone fundamental thing that this book portrays is that resolutions to relationship problems are usually discovered through one's own astrology chart, not through the partner's chart. Ego check. You sure it's your partner that's causing you all those relationship problems? Your partner and how you will likely approach them, this is what we call bhava. And I'm going to explain what that means, because it's different from what we typically know as bhavas, as the houses, although it is the same word and it has the same connotation, but there's an umbrella meaning on top of just bhava as one of the houses. So, bhava is like the bones of karma. Just like how the houses in astrology relate to the things, the reality of things that happen to us. The same way bhava is the reality of our karma. So your karma is contained in your own chart, your 4th house and your 7th house and their lords. Where's your moon? Where's your Venus? Where's your Jupiter? Where are all your relationship planets, especially in the Navamsha, and etc. This is how you can know your own approach to your relationship. It's going to show you what your relationship is and what energy you put towards your relationship. So you don't need to know your partner's chart to remove your obstructions to enjoying them, or at least you shouldn't try to remove your obstructions to your partner through their chart. Synastry in Indian synastry is less prominent than following the relationship problems outlined in one's own natal horoscope related to marriage and dharma and purpose, and seeking resolutions to relationships through oneself. Primarily, it's not to say that relationship synastry is not important. That is a huge part of what this book is all about, although I'm not going to get into it. I'm mostly focused on this philosophy. The philosophy stresses that if you go through lover after lover seeking the perfect lover, seeking this person and they have these things in their chart, and it seems like, oh, this might be the perfect person for me. And then you see another lover, and you go through another chart and you find different things that you like in different ways. You will waste much time seeking the externals of a perfect lover before you realize that you're in disenchantment and dissatisfaction in all your relationships come from your own mind, your own experience, and the witness of your experience. When we say your own mind, so many words in Indian vocabulary blend into different ideas of things. But this, when we say your own mind, the word being here is called rasa. It's fluid reality. It's your taste. It's your subjective experience. So rasa is kind of something that is internal to us, but it also is involved in the enjoyment we get from our external reality. So, our rasa that we experience from our external reality, has a lot to do with our own bhava, with our own astrological karma. So, this is the point here. It's basically on this same point, which is that resolutions to relationship problems in Indian holism are usually discovered by looking at your own chart and not your partner's. If you have good points of marriage, partnership, dharma, fifth house, especially in the Navamsha chart, then you don't really need to worry about your marriage partner's chart, because you have a good experience outlined in your chart. Really, your partner doesn't need to be perfect either. They just need to be perfect for you in order to give you the experience of suka, which is positive rasa, which is positive taste, which makes everything in your life easier. That's why we get into relationships. So if you don't have an inherently good marriage karma or partner or dharma karma or romance karma, then you must resolve, that's what that's supposed to say, you must resolve the karma related to these things in yourself and gain control of your compulsive unconscious through meditation and astrology. When you do this, when you start to see how your own Venus, your own passions are either they have too much expectation one way, or is diluted in some way, when you can understand how much of your expectation and your own rasa, your own diluted experience of the taste of your relationship, when you come to terms with this, you start to understand who you really are, what you really seek, and what your partner really is to you. When you do this, the universe will supply you with what your intention seeks. It's when you resolve the delusion inside yourself that you become clear about what you're actually experiencing in relationship. So this is an obvious point. If you look for external things with your partner, if you live to seek your mind's ideal perfection of love without gaining objectivity from your feelings or your tastes of it, because sometimes we taste things in a relationship as being bitter or bad, but that's because there's something in ourselves that we aren't aware of. So if you seek your mind's ideal perfection of love without gaining objectivity from your rasa, you will be deluded about your feelings in love, and you'll fall into the classic Venus and Virgo trap, seeking evidence of perfection externally. Remember, Venus is the planet representing love and partnership, and it's debilitated in Virgo, which relates to facts. Venus having Virgo consciousness pollutes rasa by trying to have all the facts lined up, rather than just experiencing and feeling what is actually happening in our relationships and taking ownership for how we feel and how we sense and we have attachments and karmas that push us towards expecting and being disenchanted in ways that sometimes can be unrealistic. This is why Venus is objective about this, because it's feeling its love. It's not trying to find facts about its love. It's openly feeling the sensations of its heart. And so that's where these come from. And this is the idea of the breakdown that we're going to get into in this book. It's bhava, rasa, suka. Now, I'm talking about it here, but keep in mind that I'm not going to do it as much justice as the guys in this book are. I recommend that you join me on this journey because I think it's going to be an enjoyable and a clarifying one. So for all of this that I've said, the idea here is that we're going away from, trying to use the details of astrology and of your partner's chart. We're trying to get away from using the details in your partner's chart as an excuse to blind ourselves from the organic interrelationship with our partner at an energetic level. Right? That's, if I'm going to clarify it, that's really it. Now, there is truth to a design of karma, of what we call bhava, which is the neurogenetic symmetry between two partners. Indian astrology it's astrology, and it does say that there are some people who would be better partners for someone than another person. But this shouldn't stop us from engaging from the heart, because if you engage from the heart, astrology is going to do what it's going to do, and you're going to find a lover. Because if you listen to your heart is what your natal chart says. So if you understand your own natal chart, you understand your anticipation and your expectation, and you can level with it realistically, and also understand what you are genuinely looking for, not what you might become attached to because it's enjoyable, but what your soul genuinely seeks through your natal chart, not through your partner's. If you can see this in your chart, then you will abide by the love that you seek by applying the love that you seek and that you are in the world all around you. And it will be that intelligent diffusion of your own chart. If you open your heart to the divinity and to the consciousness of your own creative nexus that is yourself. So if you do that, you will find a partner that does fit you, or you will find patience with whatever partner you do have, and you won't be deluded thinking, I don't like this person because of this reason, this reason, this reason. And after a while, if it does happen that you actually get into relationship astrology, you get into your own chart, you realize what you are seeking in a partner. If what you are seeking in a partner is not in your partner, then if you feel like you need to, that's when you consider breaking up, or feeling like you want to get away from the person, or have drastic relationship confrontations, such as finding a relationship counselor, or just trying to line out and communicate with your partner about those specific things that cause you tension and trouble, whatever. Ultimately, it's going to come from you. You're not going to do anything by seeing something in your partner's chart and trying to take the log out of your neighbor's eye. Take the log out of your own eye first before you pick out the speck in your neighbor's eye, right? So the mind gets lost on external values until it can sit calmly, detached from the senses within itself, or it can see over the good and bad rasas, or tastes, that your relationship is making. Rasa is taste, and if the relationship between two people tastes sour or bitter or not good, we have to consider the nature of the minds that might be diluting the objective facts of what the relationship is. Because it could be a fine relationship, but the two people inside are all karmically messed up. Doing relationship astrology is less about projecting your chart onto your partner or your ideal partner onto somebody. It's more about discovering whether your attitudes and dispositions are really what is ruining your experience of your lover at present, and stealing away your experience of suka, or sweetness, in your life. And suka is ultimately described as good space, When you have objectivity of your own rasa and you start developing a true sense of the goodness of the taste in the things in your life, you will start to see that you actually you get nourishment from these things. And when you get nourishment, if you give that nourishment back, we have what's called suka. Sweetness is how some people call it, but really, as our authors define it, it means good space. Psychedelic in its own way. The houses of the astral spheres are the bhava. Our experience of the interplay between our bhava and the world outside of us is called rasa. And when that interaction goes well, we experience what's called suka, good space. Very psychedelic. So that was my little intro to this book. I'm going to end by actually giving the preface that these authors have given us for their own book. So I hope I did that justice. Now let's get into the preface given by Robert Svoboda and Hart to Fouw on their book, Light on Relationships. The authors tell us, "We offer this book to the public with some trepidation, knowing that it may fall into the chasm that separates astrology's two worlds. Many of our Western readers," and I think that this is talking about West versus sidereal Vedic or whatever, which I don't think it matters. What matters is, this wisdom of this book doesn't even go into astrology techniques, at least what I'm reading. So this philosophy can be shared by anybody. So they tell us that, because these guys have a Western audience as well as a Vedic audience. And they say, "Many of our Western readers may hear in the tunes of our opus an echo of their own methods, and these tunes fail to speak truly to them of the Western style of horoscope compatibility analysis," which means there's a bit of their Western style is in their thing, but it's not exactly. And so Western synastry people don't like this book. At the same time, they see the same thing for Eastern readers who believe, and some of the devoted traditionalists of the Jyotish tradition believe that the body of Jyotisha is divinely inspired and perfect. And so they might think that this book is also too innovative to suit their tastes. They note that too often the proponents of Western and Vedic approach each other with a wariness that more befits a sibling rivalry than an honest attempt to work together for the greater good of the whole family of humanity. So this book is really a synthesized approach to horoscope compatibility analysis developed over years of experimentation. And there is a lot in this book of techniques and things like this, but I'm not going to really come on YouTube talking about what I think are great techniques until I start applying them myself, which is something I haven't focused on because I've been mostly focused on natal horoscope astrology, as we can see why from this discussion. So the authors note that we believe they build on the best principles of both the West and the East of what they have to offer for synastry. We pray that our readers will treat kindly our efforts to bring the two camps closer together. Very cool. So it's a very interesting and their own synthesized way of doing synastry. Ultimately, I suggest you get the book if you're interested in the specific techniques coming from here. But as we find in the coming episodes, we're really going to be focused on what we can learn about relationships even beyond the astrological sense and more in a general spiritual sense. That's why I love the writing of Robert Svoboda. Hart to Fouw really is the one that succinctly puts it in a very Jyotish astrological language. So I hope you guys enjoyed this intro. I love these authors, and I hope that I did this intro justice. I'm Dustin Cormier. Stay tuned. We're going to be talking more about relationship astrology in the weeks to come. Cheers.